Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode on the Nubianometry podcast, where we discuss geopolitics, geoeconomics, and development issues on the African continent, but also all over the globe. So this is episode 005, and we have a very interesting guest. His name is Tobias Weiler, and he's from Germany, and he's someone who is really into the languages space. He runs a language school called Memoria Sprachschulen, which I think is based in North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany. And surprise, surprise, he is also one of the co-founders of DeepL. So if you guys have been using DeepL, Deep Learning, which is based in Koeln, Germany, I've been using it since I think 2014 or 2015 when I was learning German myself. And of course, there are so many other languages on top of it. So Tobias is actually one of the co-founders on the languages side of DeepL. And so, ladies and gentlemen, from Nairobi, I bring to you Tobias Weiler, one of the co-founders of DeepL.
Hi, Piers. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Yeah. So, Tobias, how are you finding Kenya? Is this your first time in Kenya?
No, it's not. I've been introduced to the country as a tourist. Like most people from Germany, love to do safaris.
Yeah.
We were having the chance of getting to Kenya, Diani Beach, Malindi. That was my first time, but doing business here, this is my actually first time in Kenya.
Okay.
And I'm very happy, to be here and meet people like you.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into the space of languages, linguistics? I think you speak a couple of languages, 4, 5?
5, exactly.
5 languages. Which ones?
It's German, it's English, French, Spanish, and Italian.
And Italian.
I'm trying to do my very best to add Swahili, but I'm having a hard time catching up with all the words.
Pole pole.
Pole pole, exactly. Haraka haraka.
Aida baraka.
So I know the opposites already.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's a very interesting language. And as you already said, I love languages.
Yeah.
It all started when I was a student. My parents worked on an international program by the UN. So that's the reason why we moved to Zambia in 1994. And I was introduced to an international school, being a student for 4 years before moving back to Germany. And that was the first time I got in touch with languages, because we had a very diverse class, and my fellow students were from all over the world, and I got introduced to the language of English, and it was very helpful for me, because they put much effort into the learning of English and into speaking and interacting with foreigners. And this was the start of a linguistic career. And I was always interested in learning languages because I think it's the basis for communication. And I could see the reaction of the Kenyan people here. As soon as you speak Swahili, they have a smile and they appreciate your effort, even though sometimes the pronunciation might not be so good. But it's the same for Germans. So Germans appreciate it when foreigners try to speak their language, at least for a few sentences. And it's always breaking down the barriers. And
the people drop their guard down.
Yeah, exactly. And at school, we were introduced to French. So this is part of the curriculum. At one of the schools in Germany I visited. And I could feel that I belong to languages, and I have ease in learning languages. And that's the reason why I added Spanish, because it's close to French, and there are a lot of similarities. And finally, because of my Italian friends, I got introduced to the Italian language, and that's the reason why I'm summing up in 5 languages now.
Molto bene.
Sì, grazie. Tu parli italiano?
Sì, parlo italiano, ma ancora il mio italiano è un po'
rudimentario.
Orribile.
Okay.
Like I haven't spoken it in a couple of years.
Okay.
I did until a 2B1 level.
Oh, nice.
So it's intermediate.
Okay.
But I haven't been working on it a lot.
Yeah.
And of course now, because I have to work a lot in German almost daily.
Yeah.
My Italian has remained the same level.
Okay.
But my French, my Spanish, they are a little bit advanced. And I also do some Russian, a little bit of Russian.
Oh,
so
nice.
Same level as Italian.
Yeah, but you see, and this is maybe also the same thing for you. Being interested in foreign languages, but also connecting into the culture. I think this is very important for me, because learning a language is one thing, but being attached to the people. This is something which brings joy to me, and my family has always been surrounded by internationals, and I take pleasure in being with people and talk different languages.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I mean, you mentioned you grew up in Zambia, at least a little bit of the part, 4 years.
Yes.
So for me, I was like, okay, maybe this is your first time in Kenya and in Africa. And you're like, no, it's not the first time in Kenya and even not the first time in Africa,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I used to travel a lot with my parents. It was a hard time as a teenager because you start building relationships and
they have to be broken up.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to move a lot. But nowadays, I'm very grateful for this experience because you learn to understand the world and you learn to understand different cultures and the background and the history of cultures. And it creates an open mind and it gives you the opportunity also for business to understand how are people doing business in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for this experience. Back in the days, I had a hard time struggling, finding new friends, being in touch with foreigners. But this is also something to my benefit now because you have to interact.
Yeah.
You have to be open-minded, not shy. And this is something that's helping me now for business and also in private life.
Okay. Memoria Sprachschulen, the schools that you founded and that you teach languages. Is it a new model kind of teaching that you introduced? Because people could say we have so many language schools already in Germany, some of the probably most international like Goethe Institute and many others. Is there something particular that maybe you saw a gap in the language learning ecosystem that you wanted to fill?
That's a very interesting question, and I've been asked it a lot because, like you said, there are institutions and they are all over the world, so people are aware of it. And I think in Kenya, Goethe Institute is a big institution. So I need to go back in my history because I started being a teacher. So I was I was doing my job at a gymnasium, which is a high school or college in international scale. And I could feel that you can reach young people and you spark something in them. And but I was also following the economy, and I was trying to find out, okay, how is language working in economy, and how are professionals trained to become more successful in terms of language. And I could see that people have difficulties, especially in my area. So I'm a little bit away from Cologne. I grew up in a little area around the Nürburgring, which is a famous Formula 1 racetrack. So it's a very rural area, but still people have been in touch with internationals. And they had a hard time struggling pronouncing the words and finding the right vocabulary. So I thought, okay, maybe there needs to be done a little bit of action in order to provide the services they need. And I started with some local businesses. And they were like, wow, this is amazing. So how did you come up with this idea? And I said, basically, I was just interested in languages, and I could see that you were struggling. And I would like to help you out in solving the problem.
Okay, so maybe just to clarify, the Memoria school, language schools, they cater to professionals, not, let's say, primary or high school students?
Both.
Because
so we started with tutoring pupils. So my first employees were teachers trying to help out immigrants and also people who are struggling with the materials they got from the school. But then also the parents raised some awareness and say, "Oh, you've been working with my daughter, and I'm a manager in a big company, and I got some colleagues. They are struggling with the language. How about making something like a partnership?" It's like, okay, let's try it. And then we built up a reputation. We were able to get some local but big employers who are providing a lot of jobs to the local community. And that's how it started. And then there was the final step, moving over to Cologne, because I got my network from being a student in Cologne back in the days. And I activated this network. And we had the chance to also create a relationship to Cologne businesses. And that's how it started. And then we moved over from Cologne to Frankfurt, from Frankfurt to Berlin, from Berlin to Munich.
Oh, wow.
So at the moment we are...
you have how many schools at the moment?
30.
30.
30.
All of them in Germany?
Yes, all of them in Germany, and there is one special language school, Memoria Language School on Mallorca. So
okay.
people in Germany consider it as the 17th county.
Yeah.
A lot of Germans love to go on holiday to Mallorca or being a resident.
I thought it was like Gada.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the reason why we opened up a language school on Mallorca.
Okay. But the headquarters is in Cologne.
Yes.
Okay.
And
the one in Cologne started when?
2017. Yes.
So I was in Cologne in 2016. I did my language course, Hansaringstrasse 51.
Okay. Which institution?
It was called Karl Duisberg Zentren.
Okay. Yeah.
CDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know us and we know them. But yeah, you see, sometimes times are changing.
Yeah.
And
that was a little bit later. I mean, had I been to Germany in 2017, maybe.
Yeah, but
I could have come to Memoria Sprachschule.
But you mentioned that you are trying to learn Russian.
Yeah.
So maybe that's your possibility.
That's my next
to join
possibility.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the name Memoria, is it an allusion to memory?
Yes.
Do you guys teach more of memorialization in the courses, or?
Exactly. Yes, this is one part of it.
Or why is the inspiration connected to memory?
So I was looking for a name that can be used in many languages without losing the sense of the meaning.
Yeah.
And Memoria was coming to my mind because of the Greek and Italian Roman language.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, it sounds nice. It's something like a positive atmosphere that is creating. And yeah, the approach we have is we want to be different to let's say, institutions like Goethe, who are focusing on, let's say, the examination itself. And I want to be more practical, helping the people out on social skills and socializing with new environments, and also creating a measurable improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been introduced to the very traditional system of schools, and I could see that there is a lot of potential for change, but it's not very easy to do. And you get a lot of critic and I'm not sure whether this works or not. And that was my approach. Okay. And because coming from another side offered us more possibilities, and the people were surprised, like, oh, this is not like a regular school day or having a regular language course. It's more interactive. It's digital. Because of COVID, we also digitalized our concept with a great success. So people were very, very happy because we had the chance to implement the classes in a vast second after the lockdown. And many people in the business say, okay, this is my language course. It's done because we cannot proceed and go on. But we had the possibility to do so, and that's the reason why I'm now in Kenya also, because we are providing online services when it comes to education and language courses.
And there's the talk of you guys looking at, let's say, Swahili as, I mean, you are trying to learn a little bit of Swahili, right?
Yes.
So how is that going?
I'm trying to do my very best, but due to the flow of information I get, I need to find a way of adapting and memorizing. But I think I can say some words in Swahili, and you can see the people smile, so they appreciate it, although they know.
Maybe you can try a few on the show.
Oh, so maybe I can say mambo and asante sana. Karibu.
Oh, nice.
So you see, it's not a full sentence. But at least I can show my appreciation phrases. And being open-minded to the people. I'm trying to do my very best on my flight back to Germany to start the journey. Because a member of our group here in Kenya, he's very good at learning Swahili. So he's putting some pressure on me because I'm a competitive person and I want to keep up. Yes.
Okay, quite interesting. So DeepL, deep learning.
Yes.
How did the idea come about? Or how did you meet your co-founders and ended up coming up with this online translator, which, to be honest, I started out learning German and French in 2011. I had just started my bachelor's in international relations and diplomacy. And at the time, Google Translate was the main thing. Actually, I think it was the only thing that we knew. And then 2-3 years later, someone tells us, oh, there's a new one called DeepL. And then we started trying DeepL. So where did the inspiration come from?
Basically, it was also tackling a problem because we've been students and we've been lazy.
Yeah.
But we had to cover a lot of translational work during my studies, becoming a teacher. So we needed to translate German to English and English to German.
Yeah.
And we were looking for an option to save time, to be honest, to enjoy the good things of life as a student. And then I met the two guys, Leonard and Gerion, who have been working as software engineers and IT specialists. Also doing internships at Google. So they have been introduced to the system. They have been introduced to the opportunities AI and deep learning might have for the industry, but also for private life and student life. Yeah, and we sat down having a couple of German beers, talking about yes, exactly, Coach, talking about the possibilities of language, because they had the system, they had the let's call it the basis, but they didn't know how to introduce it to language and how to set up the framework for having a successful translation software. Yeah, and after a while I said, okay, might be an interesting topic aside from my work at school. Yeah. So I put some effort into it, and it started to grow, and it has become famous because of the University of Cologne. Yeah. So we have to appreciate their interest because they heard about it.
You have a partnership with them?
Yes, it was the first partnership. Because it's not an official partnership, but we came to the agreement that they are recommending us on behalf of our approach. Yeah, and they came to us and said, guys, there are some rumors that you are working on a very digital solution. And we said, yeah, but we are just doing it for fun. But they said, no, let's try it out for foreign students. Because the let's call it the process of registration and acknowledgement of documents and so on was very, very complicated at that time. Back in 2017, so they struggled to manage and to process the data they get. So it was handmade and it was written on paper mostly, which was quite surprising to me. Yeah, and then it was more like a beta testing, and it went out very well, and they were very happy. So they called some other universities, and we implemented the system into other universities. And then, somewhere around 2019, I guess, the German Deutsche Bahn, so the train monopoly in Germany, railway monopoly, they got in touch with us, and they said, okay, guys, we like you, we like your idea, we heard of it, and how about starting some real business relationship? And then we implemented the software in the first ticket machines.
Oh, wow.
And our APIs were quite good at the beginning. We had a hard time maintaining the quality. But nevertheless, this was our first, let's say, introduction to business.
Yeah, because to be honest, I really think it was a game changer. Because sometimes with monopolies like Google, for instance, with Google Translate, because there were no any challengers, any meaningful challengers, then they kind of rest on their laurels. And then when you guys came in, then it was almost like, okay, other people have to kind of scale up.
Yeah, to be honest, we were not keen enough to think about it in that way. Because we said, okay, there's Google Translator. So they either come to us and smash us with lawyers, copying the system, or let's call it outbuy us in the sense of giving us a good amount of money, but then the project is done. But sooner or later, we recognized the interest of the business, especially German businesses, because they want to do something with German companies. And in the field of AI and deep learning and machine learning, it was quite new for them. So we had a strong correlation with Microsoft. Okay, it's an American business, but in Cologne, there's one of the headquarters at Munich, to Germany. And we got in touch with them, and we figured out a way of avoiding trouble with Google Translator, but raising their awareness and, let's say, get their respect. And that was the reason why they let us live. And they were following us, always being interested in the way we do it. But it's more like a correlation. It's not like fighting against each other. It's not competition. And we also used an exchange program to share some knowledge on the basis of making both services better. And according to Google, they are still ahead of us because they offer more languages. And that is the thrive that keeps us going to compete and also reach the same level and quality.
So do you think, because for most people, the hype about AI was, you can say, about when ChatGPT launched in, was it November 2022?
Yes.
And the craze that followed that, and then we have all these other models, large language models. But will you say that for you guys, it's almost like you had a front seat of the period leading to the hype and the craze? Because if you guys started out back in 2014, 2015, 2017, like it was a period where maybe not so many people are talking about AI.
Yeah, I think at the beginning we were underestimated, and the people were like, "Yeah, you are doing something with software. You are one of
deep
many."
learning. What are you guys
one
talking
of many,
about?
and basically, still people. We had a discussion on our journey. Still, people pronounce it in the wrong way. They say DeepL.
DeepL, and most of them are Germans, by the way.
Exactly. But there's a funny story. An author reached out to us and he said, "Why don't you save that kind of word in the Duden, which is the Universal Language Dictionary?" As a word of DeepL, so DeepL, like Google, and it's a funny story. I'm not sure about the development right now, but it would be nice to have, to be honest.
Have it as a verb.
Yes.
At first, DeepL.
But back to your question, it's a very interesting question because we had to justify. We had to say, why are you doing it? And what is your purpose of doing it? And COVID helped us, to be fair, because COVID digitalized the market, digitalized schools, digitalized university life, and many systems were not prepared for this. And then they had the opportunity to join our system, or we could be able to implement it in their system, and it was record breaking because it was more efficient. And people could see, oh wow, I can communicate with people all over the world now, but improving the efficiency of my workflow. And some big companies they implemented the software, using it for translating the emails, the documents they have, paperworks, and so on, and they had an immense increase in efficiency. Just because of COVID, because they needed to, but also because of the software. And then we soon realized, okay, we have reached some credibility, and people start thinking about us as a serious competitor. And that was the main goal for us at the beginning, but we couldn't have imagined that it takes the way it took, to be fair.
And are you guys considering adding more languages? I think one of your partners, Francisco Oki, Francisco Masinde Oki, he was talking about, let's say, adding African languages like Kiswahili, which you already can understand a few words here and there. Are you guys looking towards expanding the language base? And if so, maybe would an African language like Kiswahili be one of the languages that can be incorporated into the DeepL system?
For sure, because due to my engagement with Oki Solutions here in Kenya, I'm looking forward to also implementing the language of Kiswahili in our system, because to be fair, I have underestimated the presence of the language and the importance of the language, both in cultural and also business life. And I think it's our duty also to take care of languages like this, because the Silicon Savannah is a very, very interesting market also for us. And it's also about being open-minded and on a cultural level, and I think this is also part of it. Creating a basis for a language. Of course, we have to think about the number of languages due to the let's say usability. For us at the moment, it's more about making our service better and better and better, so to maintain the quality of translation. We have recently introduced DeepL Write, so it's not only about translating, it's also about correcting your sentence and your semantics. So basically it's about checking your grammar, and this is what we are currently focusing on, plus adding new languages in order to be sure that we maintain and provide the best service possible. But due to my connection to Kenya, I will definitely introduce the language of Swahili to our system. And we need to get in touch with experts. And that's something I try to figure out now. So what is the best opportunity? Who's the best person to talk to in order to get somebody with a high skilled profile and helping us out in implementing it into our deep learning software.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys might be giving Grammarly a run for their money quite soon.
I think it's underestimated, the importance of grammar, because people, there is a high tendency for error. As you already know, in German language, we have capital and lowercase letters, and people having a hard time learning it. And we also have to deal with errors and things that make our job more difficult. And that's the reason why we are focusing on the quality right now and adding some quality measurements and quality, let's say, features like DeepL Write in order to make sure that the people using our software and using our services have the best possible outcome without losing maybe also the sense and the meaning of their translation they are looking for.
And so, Toby, why did you partner with Oki Solutions?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I've been asked a lot since I have touched down in Kenya a few days ago. So first and foremost, Francisco, the owner and founder of Oki Solutions, is a Koeln resident. So we are closely linked to each other by the passion for our city.
Does he know the Grundgesetze?
I hope so. We will have to find it out. But yeah, we've been talking a lot about the potential of languages, about the influence language has on both sides, Kenyan and German side, but also on the economy and also on society. And then he came half a year ago, he came to me and asked me for joining into his project, Oki Solutions in Kenya. And right from the start, I knew that this is going to be a good thing because it actually tackles the problems we are facing in Germany, and I have already experienced with my language school, but just on another continent. And my heart belongs to Africa because I've been a resident here as a young man, and I've been to Kenya, so I know about the open-mindedness and let's say the friendly welcoming of people in Kenya. And I think I can bring some skin to the game because of my experience in language, teaching language, and also having the let's call it network of professional teachers in the background that will help Oki Solution to exceed.
And so maybe as we wind up this podcast interview, I mean, you've been dealing with deep learning, so basically the building blocks of AI as we know it today. And also on the language side of things, you are a polyglot, you have a language school. Where do you see AI and languages going on into the future?
I think they have to interlink, and they already do. And especially for the project of Oki Solutions, I see great benefit for the Kenyan market, but also for the German market, because we can provide both the interpersonal relationship, teaching people in the sense of having face-to-face communication, providing online classes where people have the chance to ask questions. But from a perspective of an entrepreneur, AI, deep learning will also boost the way of learning a language and the speed of learning a language, as well as, for example, customer management, chatbots. They might be helpful to maintain and manage the customer relationship management, as well as the requests and the interest of penalizing it and channeling it into the sense of having a good business model that helps us to proceed. And I think both, they cannot be separated in the near future, because deep learning, as you have already said, is based on communication and language. And also the machines are learning because human beings feed them with information. And I think it will make processes more efficient, more tangible, and more scalable. And even for businesses in Kenya, tech businesses, they will greatly benefit from opportunities of using AI in order to create and set up a framework for their company, for maybe their platforms and softwares. And Yeah, I think there's a great future ahead. We have to be careful because also the discussion of ChatGPT and let's say the potential of doing harm is something that should not be underestimated.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, if we train the people, if we create awareness and education in that kind of field, we all will benefit.
Benefit.
Yeah.
The sky is the limit when it comes to
Exactly.
AI and languages.
Yeah, and we still have to learn about it. Yeah, well, as you said, AI is a very new thing in the market, and education, awareness, they have to grow.
Yeah.
And we have to be careful in order to make sure that it is used in the right position and at the right time.
Okay.
And not for just the sake of making things easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to your DeepL side of your personality, and let's say when DeepL came on board as alongside Google Translate, it was more of translating documents. And we've seen that with the new large language models, ChatGPT, Gemini, and many others.
Yeah.
Like they also have the ability to translate. Like you can give it a letter or tell it, simply write me an application letter for a job, but in German or in French.
Yeah.
And then it produces that. Do you think that is sort of like a competitor to the model that DeepL has?
Not necessarily, but of course, yes, it creates more options in the sense of creating content. But this is not our purpose. We are not a content creator. We are managing the content and making it better and trying to improve the level of translation and level of grammar. And because we can both implement it into a software, into a running system, but also use it for private purposes. So if a person is reading a text in Swahili, for example, taking a picture with our app, he or she will have the chance to get an instant translation. And from my point of view, ChatGPT can be a helpful tool, providing content.
Yeah.
Because you can
generating content.
Exactly, it's a content creator, but our software is not made to be that kind of software.
Like a content creator.
Because we want to help providing the best translation possible and making daily life easier. So imagine being in a foreign country, not speaking the language, but just taking a picture with your app and having an instant translation will solve a problem. And it will solve the problem at the grassroots. And yes, it's some sort of competition, but at the moment we are not considering it as a competition because we are doing different things. Yes.
And maybe one final point on DeepL, there's also the translator side of things, like an online dictionary. Is it called Lingue or is it Ling?
Lingui.
Lingui.
Yes.
So I've always been pronouncing it as Lingue.
Yeah.
Lingue.de, Lingue.fr.
Yeah.
And I started using it about the same time I discovered DeepL.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things I found about it was that if you searched for a word, it always produced the other suggestions below as a batch. So that let's say if I search for the word system in French, then it brings me système économique, système fédéral, système politique, all those different batches that go together. And so that it makes learning a language sometimes, even just through a search, it opens much more doors. So was that also one of the aspects that you guys wanted to bring to the dictionary, online dictionary side of things?
Yes, so also a good question because Lingui, to be fair, is older than DeepL.com.
Okay.
So my fellow investors and founders, they started doing this Lingui website 2 years before we met. So their approach was just to try and see how can we manage an online dictionary, because they had the same kind of impression that if you look up a word on the internet, there are only a few synonyms and a few suggestions on top, and sometimes they are misleading because you do a single word search and maybe it's out of the context. And this is the main problem. And that is the reason why now they are both linked with each other, because on the one side, DeepL is trying to give you context. And that's the reason why I also tell the people don't use single word searches in DeepL, because it might be misleading. the AI, the machine learning, it needs context in order to understand what kind of content are we talking about. Are we talking about something positive? Is it negatively connotated? Yeah, and Lingui, this is a classical dictionary, but, and that's the benefit of having AI in the backpipe, is linking them so that it creates a list of alternatives. And this is linked to the database, and this is linked to the features of DeepL. And this will also be a benefit for OK Solutions, for example, here in Kenya, that they will have access to those kind of search engines and data banks, so that we can provide the best service possible also when when teaching people the German language.
Okay. Yeah. Tobias, parting shot.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think
future prospects.
Yeah, future prospects is I'm really looking forward to the relationship to Kenya.
Yeah.
And I want to participate and bring my skin to the game, providing the Kenyans the opportunity to be educated in a sense of preparing them for the direct placement and connection to Germany. And offering my expertise, my experience, and the things I learned about it to this particular environment. And I think language breaks barriers. Language is the fundamental of communication, both on and offline. And I've been always been thankful for being part of this. And I hope to inspire a lot of people here in Kenya of maybe taking the same pathway and helping to streamline the connection between Kenya and Germany.
And maybe you can also tell people to learn a language a day, maybe, or a year.
This is
the way people say an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Exactly. There is maybe our teacher used to say learning the vocabulary every day keeps the pain away when it comes to vocabulary tests. But I of course language is important, and it's of course a goal, a life goal to learn as many languages as possible, and try to be curious, try to be motivated. There will be down phases, and you will struggle learning languages, and there will be the moment when you say, oh no, I don't want to continue. But at the end, you are also the best living example. It's worth doing, and it creates chances. And most chances and potential for improvement, changing the world.
So, Tobias or Tobias?
Toby is also fine.
Or Toby. I don't want to be like your Oma.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming to the Nubianometry podcast.
Thank you.
I think we've really received a lot of deep insights, especially for people who are learning languages out there. And I think anybody who watches this video will actually gain deep insights and will probably enjoy it and come out having learned something that will help them in their journey to learning more foreign languages.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me. It was a pleasure. And on to the future of learning languages.
Okay. I know we'll stay in contact.
Yes.
And to you watching this episode on the Nubianometry podcast, episode 005, I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was, for me, quite enriching and fruitful. And I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, have a nice evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are. Bye.